Hello and welcome back. Obviously, we have a very sad day today. As of last night, we did lose Supreme Court Justice Ginsburg. So today I'm going to try to be nicer than normal. I think this is going to be a very polarizing issue with the upcoming election. And I do think we need to do this situation a little bit more justice than normal. So please forgive me if I'm not my usual jovial self and try to really stick it to people. But in this situation, I think it calls for a little bit more sincerity. So I do want to say that before we get going, that this is a very big loss for the country. I do believe that in the Supreme Court, maybe I do lean a little bit more conservative or moderate, meaning that I think that there should be a 5-4 split, because I do think in a conservative or moderate view, actually. And the reason why I say that is sometimes leftist progressive issues are very extreme left. And I do think that people, even when they're Supreme Court justices, their lives tend to lead them differently than ours. And the reason why I say that is they try to hold to the Constitution and to the truth as they perceive it. But they're human, and their lives and their experiences will dictate how they judge, for a lot of situations. So I don't want to make this a melancholy situation. I do want to get into it. I do think we need to discuss it. So we're going to get into that in a second. But for everyone else, I do want to say thank you so much for the support we've been seeing across the board. And if you're listening to this on my podcast, please make sure to follow me. If you are listening to this and are seeing this on YouTube, Facebook, or any other media outlets that I use, please subscribe and follow as well. So let's get into it. Here, Ginsburg's wishes. Now, this is supposedly here what she told her granddaughter. And with that being said, she wanted to wait until the next president was able to decide. Now, the problem here is how our Constitution works. And we had this situation with Obama as well, right? We had Merrick Garland, who was nominated and was supposed to go up and be considered for the Supreme Court. And of course, Republicans blocked that. And so I think when it comes to Donald Trump, calling for it now, obviously he's doing because he wants to. He's been packing the courts for a while. I think the Democrats have been seeing that, and obviously we'll get further into that a little bit later. But that's why for the past 3 years and change since he's been president, they've been calling for court packing, which I think we'll reference later, because you're going to see how this falls into the current climate. So I think when it comes down to it, I said in my previous podcasts and my shows that, while the Democrats were trying to control the civilian narrative, what we digested for information and how they wanted it to be perceived, the Republicans have been for a very long time packing the courts. So, they each have their power struggles. And don't get me wrong, public opinion is power as well. But they've obviously been doing their power struggles in two different areas. And now the Democrats are crying foul, and I don't think they should be able to. I think if you're going to control the public narrative, you go ahead and do it. But if you want to not focus on some of the priorities, which I would imagine would be the court system, you can't cry foul later. It's, I'm sorry, you do it quite too often. But, as far as her wishes, as much as I think they should be respected, I don't think constitutionally they can. And I say this constitutionally. I think that if I remember correctly, that the president is supposed to nominate someone upon her death. And he can nominate. It doesn't mean the Senate has to confirm or hold hearings or anything, but he's supposed to nominate. So I don't think we can take that away from him. Yes, of course, it's Trump's and he wants to. I mean, let's be honest. But again, this is really, we got to remember that there's 3 tiers of government here. Okay. And we have one tier that has a subsection, which is the Senate and the House. So again, this is really falls on the situation where Trump has the authority and constitutionally supposed to nominate someone. But the Senate can do what the Senate wants. I mean, the president's not God. So we need to look at that. But going forward into this as well, so Trump wants to replace Ginsburg without delay. Of course, we just said that. But Biden says the Senate should wait. The problem we have here, again, this is a Biden thing where 47 years, inconsistent message. And again, I think that's part of the problem now is the party's still split on the Democrat side. You know, it's not like the moderate Democrats and the far left liberals are joined on anything. There's no unity within the party. So, and Biden really doesn't have a big message. I mean, let's face it. I mean, 1/3 of the people still don't, or 2/3 of people still don't understand what he's really running for. I don't even really know what he's running for because with his latest stunts and his stump speeches, he's now going away from the left and going more right, trying to claim some of that middle ground. And it's like I said prior, Biden's not running for the Democratic vote right now. He's not. And he's definitely not running for the liberal progressive vote. He's just not. He's running for people who think like me, an independent thinker. And I think really what you need to do is we need to consider that. So let's move forward here. So this is what he says now, but the problem we have is this right here. Watch this.
My consistent advice to presidents of both parties, including this president, has been that we
mind you, by the way, this is obviously, if you know, this is Joe Biden back in 2016. So
should engage fully in the constitutional process of advice and consent. And my consistent understanding of the Constitution has been the Senate must do so as well. Period. They have an obligation to do so.
So, again, Joe Biden even agrees with this. So it says, I would go forward with a confirmation process as chairman even a few months before the presidential election. If the nominee were chosen with the advice and not merely the consent of the Senate, just as the Constitution requires. So even 2016, Joe Biden, he said even a few months before an election, he would do it. It's constitutionally required. The problem here is Senate, depending on who controls it, plays games with this. Now, this is a knock on the Republicans, and I'm more moderate and conservative than I am liberal, but I do have some very liberal ideas. So I don't see how Joe Biden can now call for, we need to wait. This is pandering. This is nothing more than pandering, and this is what politicians do to us all. And you all buy into it for the most part, to a degree, because you're thinking emotionally and not intellectually. And I'm not saying anyone here is stupid. It's just sometimes our emotions get the better of us. And this should not be. I mean, we need to pick our politicians based on what they're going to do for us, how they hold their beliefs. But this guy's been in politics for 47 years. I mean, I pointed out in previous shows and podcasts, he's been lying since 87. I mean, what do you expect from him? Seriously, what do you expect from him? No one honestly believes Joe Biden's running for president. Everyone doesn't think he's going to, hold out his first term before Kamala takes over. Especially now or recently, they're both making the same gaffe where it's a Harris administration or from Kamala Harris's lips now to a Joe Biden where it's a Harris-Biden administration and it's coming out of his lips. So no one really believes Joe Biden's running for president. You can't think Joe Biden's running for president. If you do, you're absolutely wrong. Seriously. And again, vote, it says right here, and this is a very recent article that Biden says voters should pick the president and the president should pick the justice. That's it. But here's the problem, though. Now when you flip-flop, if you really want to sit there and say that let the people choose. The people don't choose. And you're seeing that all over Twitter and Facebook and everywhere. Let the people choose. The people don't choose. And then when it comes to the president, he doesn't put up a justice that he doesn't think is going to get through the nomination process. I mean, let's face it. So the people still ain't choosing a justice. This is all for show and it's all for pander. I mean, let's face it. I mean, people are just lying to us straight face. And a lot of people are buying it. And it's sad because now this is in the memory of the late Supreme Court Justice Ginsburg, right? I mean, there's a lot of people that we can say that were great on the Supreme Court, but not all of Supreme Court justices were great. And this woman leaves a legacy behind, and now we're running into a major election, and it's being tarnished. And the woman, it's not even 24 hours since her passing. Come on, people. So here's Nancy Pelosi in 2016, right? This is her talking about, obviously, the Merrick Garland situation.
The Constitution, and I would hope that we could follow it in his honor. However, the Republicans have a breathtaking refusal to meet their constitutional duty to give Justice Scalia's replacement a timely vote and a fair hearing. Republicans' contempt for functioning government and their disrespect for the president knows no bounds.
Now, I don't know if any of you caught all that, but really disrespect for the president and contempt and whatnot having knows no bounds. Let's face it, Democrats have had all that and the above since Trump was elected. And it's been with such vigor that even now people have been leaving the Democratic Party a lot faster than normal because of the display. I mean, let's face it, I truly believe, and I said this since the beginning, that not all of us are moderate or liberal. We sway on the issues, and rightfully so, because we should be dealing with everything as a issue by issue basis. I mean, there are some things that with tradition and identity of a country that certain things are kind of like edged in stone, and I get it. But this is ridiculous. Now we're seeing both sides, and it's nothing more than a political play. And it has nothing to do with the American people. It truly doesn't. This is just a drama show for all you reality TV lovers. That's what this is, because you don't have a choice. You really don't have a choice. But we're going to hold on to that statement here for a second. Let's finish this out.
Evidently, it isn't enough for Republicans to merely shut down government or threaten the full faith and credit of the United States of America. They must sabotage the Supreme Court, too. Republicans have obstructed the Congress, obstructed our president, and now they want to obstruct the court.
So when hasn't the Democrats in this past 4 years done all the above, again, with zealous and vigor? Really? Nasty Palooza here, and I don't care, I was trying to be nice, but this woman is just horrible. And a lot of the California Democrats are just horrible for the most part. I mean, I just can't stand that we as a country have to deal with them and their piss poor policies that they try to push. And I feel bad for a lot of Californians, and then there's a lot of Californians who you allowed this one-party system to play out, and with all the stuff you're dealing with, you get what you deserve. So it's kind of sad. So let's move on. So Lindsey Graham, back before the other one, turned around and said that he wouldn't vote for a new justice, right? A new justice a year prior to an election. And of course, now he's changed his mind, and if we really take a listen, this is Lindsey Graham.
This is the last year of a lame duck president. And if Ted Cruz or Donald Trump get to be president, they've all asked us not to confirm or take up a selection by President Obama. So if a vacancy occurs in their last year of their first term, guess what? You will use their words against them. I want you to use my words against me. If there's a Republican president in 2016 and a vacancy occurs in the last year of the first term, you can say, Lindsey Graham said, let's let the next president, whoever it might be, make that nomination, and you could use my words against me, and you'd be.
So yeah, Lindsey, we're going to end up using your words against you. Democrats got you cold, brother. You're going to eat those words. But of course, now he understands, and he'll flip flop again. He'll flip flop a couple of times. But I think the problem we have here, and you need to understand this, okay? The world is different. The world is different, and what I mean by that is it's real simple. For the past 3 years and change since Trump's been president, what's the one thing that the Democrats have been whining about very consistently? And that is packing the Supreme Court, right? That's what they want to do, pack the Supreme Court. So here's Harvard, right? And this guy goes through everything on here. And it's a very good article, and I'll put that in the description below. You should definitely read it. If the Democrats win in November, should they pack the Supreme Court? And, I'm going to get into this. I read this article when I have you, and I think I have my own beliefs on this, and I'm a little bit more in the middle when it usually comes to my thinking. But we're going to get in on that. But the other one, which is pretty funny, which came in like 28 minutes ago, is the New York Times, right? And Ruth Bader Ginsburg's death revised talks of court packing. So, I think the problem you have here is this has been going on for a while, and that is probably the one situation that really going to make Lindsey Graham think twice. Because if they win the presidency, they hold the House, and now they get the Supreme Court. There's no checks and balances at that point except for the Senate, and that's only what the Senate can hold. So I think you run that. And then, of course, right here, good old Washington Examiner, there will be riots, right? There will be riots. Liberals threaten to burn it all down if Republican senators replace Ginsburg before Election Day. So we already saw that the riots didn't work well for the Democrats. So now it's calling foul, right? They want to call foul. Oh, we can't do this. We can't do that. Let's just burn it all down. Well, that's only going to set the Democratic Party back, because it's not going to be a party for the people, because that's what they claim to be. But are you? You're going to burn it all down? You ain't a party for all people. You can't be if we're just going to burn it all down. So between packing the courts and then going to threaten riots, we need a Supreme Court now. We don't need a 4-4 decision. We need a 5-4 or whatever decision, because there's going to be a lot of stuff that happens. So not only are you, wrong for threatening the packing of the Supreme Court, but now if you don't get your way, you're threatening violence, which now means, because of the heightened emotion and at this point and after the election, no matter who wins, we need a Supreme Court, and we need a full Supreme Court. So if you're doing this to these threats to win in your favor, you might be pushing it the wrong way, because people like me will be like, I don't want to wait. Because if I need someone to make a decision, I don't want to wait and then wait and then wait and then wait. Okay. And then shit gets really out of hand, and I'm still waiting. So no, I think at that point, the Senate has to do something now. I mean, that's the truth of it. You put this in that situation. So you got to stop with this violence. You got to really get the liberal activists under control, because it's not activism. It's just looting and rioting and straight terrorism if you're threatening to burn the system down. That's what it is. And I wouldn't be surprised if Donald Trump turned around and called after the fact, them doing all this as domestic terrorism, if they find out to be a group. I mean, let's face it, he's already done it with Antifa. So how far do you really want to push this? Because the next president, understand this, the next president, I'm not saying it will be Trump, but the next president has to, at some point, unify this country. Now, if Trump comes in, let's face it, country won't be unified, but at some point, a president has to come in and unify this country. And the further we go away, the harder it's going to be. And no one's going to win here. Again, it's all going to come back down to the same thing we've been doing for decades and centuries, which is compromise. And that's where I keep saying that the moderates need to come back to the table. You guys need to take control of both sides because you guys truly hold the power. You need to end this. You need to end this. Not every issue is black or white, left or right. It's not that. There's a country. Each country has its own regions. Each region has its own states. Each states have its own cities and its own culture and its own demographic breakdown. This is supposed to be a collective. And it needs to start acting like that way, especially in the passing of Supreme Court Justice Ginsburg. I mean, they don't make women like her anymore. And I don't think there's a lot of people out there that even can compare. Again, she's a loss. She helped move this country forward. What I've always said, though, is I do believe that there should have been a 5-4 split, and because I think moving forward, you do need to move forward as a country, but you need to be able to wrap it up in the American identity and the Constitution to protect it. And that's just the truth. So let's move on here. So the problem I also have with I think Trump should do it now, and it's not because I want Trump to do it now, but I think he has a legal obligation, unfortunately, and of course he fervently wants to. But
words.
How do you turn around and let this guy choose?
You know, there's that great philosopher, and he talked about Jill puts notes up on my mirror when she wants me to, where I shave, to get messages across to me. Who in fact talks about division, person who does not focus on unity. Around the values that unite us, the faith that together I have absolute faith. Together we can begin to repair this nation. Together we can work toward.
Does anyone know what this guy is saying? I've said it all along. Does anyone understand what this guy is saying? You know, I didn't want to call it in previous episodes elder abuse, but I really think this is elder abuse at some point. The guy can't talk, okay? He really can't talk when you put it down to it. He doesn't compare to Donald Trump, who can speak, okay? And if you put this guy in a debate, what the hell is he going to say? Blah, 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 cheeseburger. Seriously here. And the problem here, again, is this is the best the Democrats had to give us, which I find hard to believe. There was some decent candidates that should have been taken a little bit more seriously on the Democratic side when they were running. Not Kamala Harris by any standard, but there was definitely some other candidates that I think were better qualified at this point who could actually form sentences and paragraphs, but we'll finish it.
Racial justice, economic injustice, climate change. Together we can restore America's mandate to be a nation of immigrants, because in the faces of dreamers and new arrivals, we see the grandparents streaming onto Ellis Island, ours and Jill's as well, their veins bulging. Close your eyes and remember the picture on television, and put the future within our reach, where states that, you know, look, whatever state of life you're in, you can make a difference. And
not the state of life you're in, Joe. Not the difference you're trying to make. I mean, that's the bottom line here. I mean, it makes it very hard for me to take him seriously. It really does. And that's why I keep contending that he's not running for president. He's a prop. He's going to be removed. And then Kamala Harris is going to be the woman who's going to be the last woman standing on this one. You know, and then the other issue you have here is this guy is just floundered with scandals. And the problem is it's not even so much him. It's like his son, right? His son is just like, wow. Let's see if we can pull this one back up here. You know, obviously he has that China thing where he was helping the Chinese military buy auto parts, right? Of course, it won't come up. There we go. So Hunter Biden worked with Chinese military supplier to buy U.S. auto parts company. So, between the Ukraine and China and everywhere else under the sun, there is no doubt in my mind, and there shouldn't be any doubt in anyone else's mind, Biden is going to be someone who absolutely embraces China and other countries. And that's why NAFTA still stood at no. And I don't care what he said. That's why NAFTA still stood, because people like his son profiting from it, huge. There's no way in hell Biden made all his money working as a public servant for 47 years. Not going to happen. I'm sorry. There's deals been made, things been done, and obviously his son now is knee deep in it. And I just, oof. You know what I mean? You can say anything you want about the Trump family, but they're not working with China. Don't care if you like it or not. That's just the truth, right? But there's one thing that I did post the last episode, and whether it was the show or the episode that you'll watch, and that was the schools. And I think we need to really get back to that. That's now obviously being overshadowed by Supreme Court Justice Ginsburg's death, but everyone's trying to call for, Davos' resignation when it comes to school reopening. And I'm so tired of hearing this. Education is a state, local issue for the most part, because demographics are not the same. Not everyone lives in an urban city. If you can't handle your area well, that's your fault. It's not the federal government's. It's not DC's fault. What happens in Wyoming, what happens in Texas, what happens in Michigan, at a local level for school is not Washington's fault. If you are either incompetent or, let's just say it, too stupid to get it right, then you should resign. If you need hand-holding by the federal government on how to handle your local environment for getting your kids educated, you're the problem, not the federal government. Okay, you need to get that straight, and you need to understand that. It's called accountability. Because if you need the federal government to get involved, maybe they should also control your state and local funds, because basically you want them to tell you how to spend your money. So that means you should want them involved as economically as well within your state and local government, because you're incompetent and too stupid to do it. So you think bigger government is the solution. I mean, that's really what you're saying here. So tired. This pandemic's been going on for a while. It's getting better. I'm not saying we're at a great place, but it's obviously getting better. Doctors are getting better. Things are getting better. There's practices and policies that are in place that are working. There's stuff that these local governments and state governments can adopt, okay, and enact. And if they just don't want to or can't do it because they're too stupid, then guess what? It's on you. And I do think if you're going to call for the federal government to get involved, that means they get involved on every level, which means you're asked out when it comes to how you spend your money. Because guess what? You invited the problem. And that's the truth. You invited the problem because you want their guidance. I don't know, but it's like having my neighbor come into my house, right, and tell me how I'm going to run my house. Yes, we live on the same street, we live in the same city, but who the hell are you to come in and tell me how I'm going to spend my money, educate my children, if we don't even have the same situation going on? That's absolutely asinine. But that's what we're facing today. So let me end with this, okay? Let me end with this, and then we'll call it quits. It is a true loss. It is a true loss that she passed. There's no doubt about it. I think everyone is feeling it to some degree. This woman made major changes in our country. But, I think the problem here is the progressive left has really forced hands on this one. They've pushed it to the limit, and now you have people like Lindsey Graham who's going to flip-flop, but at the end of the day, he's the Senate Judiciary Chairman, and he's going to push that nominee through, because honestly, if this is the most hotly contested election of our time, it's already being perceived by riots and going to have riots afterwards now, because that's what the left is calling for. We can't have that seat vacant. You can't. And for people listening, whether you agree with everything I'm saying, you cannot threaten violence if you don't get your own way. And the only people who can make final decisions on things is the Supreme Court, and leave that seat open. So you're pushing for something that's not in your best interest. You should have just left it alone. You should have turned around and negotiated your way out of this, or found another way. Okay, but forcing threatening violence, telling people there will be violence, burn the system down, only means the system needs to be stronger and more protected, which means that seat needs to be filled. Okay, so you're doing it wrong again. And if you want Trump elected, you're going the right way. Keep threatening more violence. Keep doing what you're doing. You idiots just don't get it. I mean, seriously, you just don't get it. But I hope, for everyone's sake, that in the memory of this woman, you should give it a day or two of rest. There shouldn't be immediately like Chuck Schumer coming out saying, hey, listen, no one should fill this seat right now. I mean, the poor woman isn't even buried. It's disgusting what politics has turned into. It's disgusting that I even have to be able to talk about this today. But it's a sad fact of life. So I hope you kind of more agree with me. I hope we can turn around and fix this. And let's move on and forward in a better manner. Until then, I'll talk to you again. Please see the description below for any links to the other podcasts or whatnot have you. Thank you again for your support.